i5 Space has surpassed over 1,000 members nationwide. We have a new AI team. We have a new orientation program that all of our new members will be going through. And on the Space Force side, we have tons of crazy things to talk about. We have a new Space Futures Command coming up, as well as officer training course, and of course, the re-optimization of the Department of the Air Force to meet the challenges of the great power competition. So we have so much to talk about in this season, and I'm really excited to be here with you. That was a mouthful. Ernie, I don't know why it took us 2 years to get ice cream. Check out the place. We got a whole new location. I just record on the end of the table. Also, there's a whole new table here. So there's already a lot of changes going on all around me. It's all sorts of, hope you have a new patch. I hope you enjoy them, but seriously, we have a lot to talk about. We've witnessed the creation of a whole new field command, seen crazy developments in the AI world, and have also seen i5 Space expand to whole new levels, bringing cadets together from across the nation determined to learn more about the space world, helping build the culture of this new force. Throughout my time in i5 Space, it's been an honor to meet cadets from all around the world and see how your creative minds are growing to expand the potential of the Space Force and shape the new culture of this still brand new force. But that's enough of that. We got a whole episode to talk about all the amazing things you've been doing later on in the i5 Space year in review video that's going to cover all of the amazing things you all have been doing across the nation. So stay tuned for that later on. Over this season of the i5 Crash Course series, we're going to be diving deep into how we are continuing to shape the culture of the Space Force, as well as the new educational programs that the Space Force offers, such as the Azimuth program and the Officer Training course. We're also going to be explaining both the art and the science behind space operations, explaining to you that no matter who you are, you could be a good fit for the Space Force, whether you're technically minded or not. We'll go into the new Space Futures Command with the information we know now, space threats, how we impact the Joint Force, and a brief history of i5 Space throughout the couple of years of its existence. And of course, a bunch of other space updates. We got 10 episodes and I'm really excited and honored to make another Crash Course season for you all to see. And I want to be clear, many episodes in this Crash Course series are going to be more applicable to people who are interested in commissioning or enlisting in the Space Force, but there's tons of information that no matter who you are, whether that be in another military service, a civilian, or anything in between, it is important to be aware of how the space domain operates and acts in your life because we all use it every single day. And if you are in another service, you will be learning how the Space Force impacts the Joint Force, which, by the way, it does a lot if you didn't know already. And of course, i5 Space is open to basically everyone. I mean, the DoD is probably interested in having air-minded guardians just as much as they want to have space-minded airmen and, well, space-minded everyone, because everybody uses space on a daily basis, from GPS,
internet,
ATMs,
GPS, cell service, radio, televisions, ATMs, power grids, and weather forecasting.
Okay. Probably more interesting is actually your smartphone, and specifically on your smartphone, the camera. How it works is thanks to the miniaturization of complementary metal oxide semiconductor sensors that were first established back in the 1990s at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, which paved the way for the tiny sensors in your cell phone. So there's tons of examples on how space exploration as well as space domain development have actually helped in our daily lives, and we'll talk a lot more about that later on. Essentially, the more involved we are in the space world, the further innovation and technology helps us in so many aspects of our lives, to where, quite literally, in order to save our universe, even if that for you is defined as just your living room and a VR headset, because apparently some people are lame and don't go outside and touch grass anymore, we need to further learn about how to be best equipped to solve the problems up above the sky. So where do we even start? I mean, there are so many things that go on in life, and from the military's perspective, there are so many conflicts going on across the world to where it feels like space almost has to be put on the sideline. But actually, it's putting space more on the spotlight. The U.S. Department of Defense has detailed the threat posed by space-based activities, particularly from China and Russia, both of which are developing increasingly complex capabilities to deny space missions in the U.S. Joint Force. The Russo-Ukrainian War has been ongoing since 2014, with an invasion of Ukraine in 2022 skyrocketing conflict through their series of attacks against Kiev and several cities located at the border of Russia and Belarus. Concurrently, Russia conducted a massive cyber attack against Viasat's Ka-Sat geosatellite network, which was used by the Ukrainian army, which has shown a lethal example of using cyber operations in conventional military operations on the land, sea, and air. Cybersecurity of our space assets is essential, and if stuff like this continues to happen, we lose. Like Viasat, most of satellites in space are operated for commercial services. However, also like Viasat, some are dedicated to the military, with the US, Russia, and China having the most. Ukraine has none, but thanks to tons of help from the West in many ways, such as ISR satellites telling the truth about the war, such as the massacre in Bucha near Ukraine's capital. Seeing a mass murder of Ukrainian civilians and prisoners of war by Russian armed forces, we're able to use satellite services to further understand what really is going on the ground of these conflicts. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm sure you've noticed there's tons of news out there that mismatches things and facts and kind of makes them fallacy to the point where they're just straight up lies, just because they take a portion of the information they want to have and make a story out of it. But satellites don't lie. They record everything. They're watching you. I'm just kidding. I mean, they kind of are watching you. As more satellites enter the atmosphere, it's going to be a lot harder to hide things too. And the truth of what's going on is going to get out a lot quicker. Not only with ISR and PNT satellites, but also democratic satellites, which is essentially internet being readily available for people all across the world through SpaceX's Starlink and other companies as well. So they have access to the truth. I feel like I'm almost like a politician saying the truth, find the truth, and talking about news sources and how they lie. I don't know. Anyways, let's get back to it. While we're kind of on the topic of SpaceX, it's actually pretty crazy because, fun fact, SpaceX has 4,000 of the current, as of about May 4th, 2024, may the 4th be with you, 9,900 satellites that we have in space, which, based on what a lot of companies are trying to do, it's going to get a lot more congested, and we're going to have a lot of satellites up in space to the point where will we even be able to see the stars anymore? I'm just kidding. I mean, space is going to become much more competitive in literally every field that needs it. Somehow, some way, you are utilizing or being monitored by a satellite 24/7. We are very connected, and that is not going to slow down. So how are we going to protect ourselves from these threats, as well as protect ourselves from ourselves? And to answer the question of whether or not satellites are a threat or not, when determining that, you almost can't. Is China's robotic arm in space truly for space station construction, astronaut assistance, and scientific experiments, or is it really for dismantling our satellites? Or both? What can and can't we target in space? Space is going to be and continue to be probably the biggest headache known to mankind, and it's up to the Space Force to continue securing our interests in, from, and to space. The US intelligence community has reported that China is readying its military to potentially invade Taiwan by 2027. The big question is, will we be ready? Or maybe we're in a Cold War right now, as the potential risk associated with orbital bombardment, space debris, and just blowing shit up in general is just not good. A 2022 report from the Defense Intelligence Agency highlighted that China has developed the capabilities that could damage satellites, including ground-based laser weapons and missiles. Sometimes it almost feels like our world is a ticking time bomb, and it's ticking faster and faster every year. Since its establishment in 2019, the Space Force has been in a critical transformational phase. But now, it's focused on becoming a war-fighting Space Force, as said by Major, now Lieutenant General, David Miller. That was a lot. And it's serious stuff. And that's not even close to everything. We have a Syrian civil war, massive humanitarian crises in Yemen, the Israel-Palestine conflict, China totally going against our one China policy with their expansions across the globe, especially in Africa, and so much more. And through some connection, you see a lot of these guys in the background or just in the foreground. The Space Force is around and will always be around to ensure that the American interests are protected, to ensure our forces as well as our allies and the whole world will never experience a day without space. And we work closely with many of our allies 24/7 to keep this vision alive and breathing well. As a member of I-5 Space, you will be on the cutting edge of developments in the space world, as well as become better prepared leaders to answer the problems that we will see in our country and across the world in this generation. So what do you say? Let's save the universe together.